Today marks 50 years since Charles Whitman climbed the University of Texas tower and opened fire, shooting dozens of people and killing 15. We spoke with 4 survivors of the shooting who all had very different experiences that day, heroes, victims, and one woman who still isn't sure why she was spared. It's our most precious resource. But time is relentless. It changes all of us. Yet for some, no matter how much time passes, some things will never change.
I'm not going to get away from it. It'll follow me to my grave.
I don't know why 50 years later it brings tears, but...
They were there that day, frozen in the tense Texas heat, hearing the shots, seeing the bodies, waiting.
This is a warning to the citizens of Austin. Stay away from the university area. There is a sniper on the university tower firing at will.
Cheryl Dickerson was Cheryl Botts of Rockdale back then, shy, 18, fresh out of high school.
I rode the bus to Austin to spend a week with my grandmother. I always did that every summer.
On this trip, Cheryl met a ticket agent at the Austin bus station. Don Walden was also a UT student.
And then he asked me if I had ever toured the campus, and I said no. All those years I'd lived near Austin, never had been there.
Don offered a campus tour. Cheryl accepted, and the next morning, off they went. Their first stop, the UT Tower.
It is absolutely gorgeous up there. You can see forever.
They spent 40 minutes on the observation deck while Charles Whitman made his way up the elevator, about to claim the morning's first victim. When they went back in from the deck, they saw receptionist Edna Townsley wasn't at her desk, and they noticed something else.
There was a reddish-brown swath across the floor, something like a mop would make. Didn't know what it was, but the first thought I had was varnish. It looked like the color of varnish my mother used. As we step over the stain, there's a movement to our right, and we both turn and look. And at that point, Whitman raises up from bending over the couch. He turns to face us, and he has a rifle in each hand. We're just walking and talking. But as we turned and faced him, I smiled and said, hello. He smiled real big and said, hi, how are you? And we just kept walking.
And that was it. They never stopped walking. Cheryl figures they were in and out of the room in about 15 seconds. They didn't ask him about the guns. It was 1966. Why would they?
Don said later he thought about asking him if he was going out to shoot pigeons. In my high school, very small town, all of the guys drove pickup trucks. They had gun racks in their pickup trucks with guns in them, loaded, unlocked while we were at school. It was normal. It was an innocent time.
Time. Artley Snuff had plenty that day. Time between his freshman classes.
When it happened, I was 17. I was still living at home. I didn't know anything about anything.
Artley was playing chess that morning at his friend's apartment, 4 blocks from campus.
Just before noon, the radio announcer came on after a song and said that he thought that they thought that somebody was on top of the tower with an air rifle. And we were right nearby, so we jumped up. I remember the chess pieces flying.
And they flew to where the action was.
Before we got 100 feet onto campus, there was somebody in the street hiding behind a building, yelling, take cover.
So they did, on the 3rd floor of Sutton Hall.
From there, we could see people lying on the mall. And even from there, I could see that, that Claire was very pregnant.
Claire Wilson was an 18-year-old freshman, a Dallas native, the daughter of liberal parents from a conservative town. But politics didn't matter much as Claire lay on the searing concrete, 8 months pregnant, with a bullet in her hip.
I felt a huge shock, just a jolt.
Wilson and her 18-year-old boyfriend, Thomas Ekman, had just left their anthropology class and were walking on the South Mall when Whitman found his first victim from the tower.
I thought I'd stepped on an electric wire. I thought it was an invasion, and the Vietnam War had broken out.
It was war, one man's personal war against the demons in his head, and Claire's boyfriend was his next target.
I could see him, but he wasn't moving. I knew he was dead.
Thomas wasn't the only casualty. Claire felt the baby stop kicking for good, and she figured she was the next one to die.
I just thought, this is the end. I thought that really the whole time. I really had no help, no hope.
Meanwhile, Artley Snuff and his friend James Love had made their way back down to the ground and took cover behind the old Jefferson Davis statue.
It was only about 100 feet from where Claire and all these other people were lying out in the middle of the mall. And I crawled under some hedges that were right next to the statue. And I don't know how long I was in there, but when I got myself back together and crawled out from under the statue, I realized that the people out there did not have the option I did. They were laying on the hot concrete. They were under 100-degree suns. And it became intolerable.
It wasn't exactly painful. The heat overruled the pain. My body was just preparing to die.
Claire was the only one I saw move, and I was worried that there was a sense of urgency because I thought that the tower shooter could see her move and might shoot her again. So James and I ran out there and picked her up. She was laying in a pool of her own blood. I got her ankles and James got her wrist, and we carried her from there to safety. As we carried Claire away from the tower, I can feel it now. A small cold spot right between my shoulder blades on my spine, and I can feel it about the size of a coin. And I thought that's where I was going to get hit.
But Artley made it, and thanks to him and James Love, so did Claire.
That minute that he came out, everything changed. Before that, I was all shut down, ready to die.
I shouldn't have waited so long. Claire laid out there for an hour because of my cowardice.
I tell him that he did it at the right time, that we didn't know how long that was going to last.
I believe in getting things done. I believe in not waiting an hour before. If something has to be done, you go and do it. Procrastination is the thief of time.
Time might be constant, but it isn't always the same. Sometimes minutes can seem like years. For Austin police officer Ramiro Martinez, 96 minutes was enough.
Somebody had to get up there and confront him and neutralize him. And that, I felt, was my job.
Martinez was 29, a 5-year veteran of the force. His lieutenant wanted him to work traffic near campus that day, but Martinez ended up on campus, literally in the middle of it all.
It sounded like a war.
He made his way to the tower and got on the elevator.
It was muffled, but you could hear the rifle shots,
When Martinez got out near the top, he found Officer Jerry Day armed with a pistol and a civilian, rifle-toting Air Force veteran Alan Crum. Not exactly the reinforcements Martinez was hoping for.
I was disappointed, and my God, this was it. This was us.
Martinez and Crum started up the stairs to get to the observation deck.
Crum looked at me and he said, "Are we playing for keeps?" And said, "You damn right you are." I said a few other things, but anyway. And he says, "Well, I guess you better deputize me." Looked at him and I said, "Consider yourself deputized."
Crum wouldn't be Martinez's only helping hand. When he got out on the deck and began to look for the shooter, something caught his attention.
I turned around, looked back, and there was Houston McCoy with a shotgun.
Houston McCoy, a tall, lanky police officer, made it 2 officers chasing 1 sniper at the top of the tower. But at the bottom, on the ground, a bunch of would-be do-gooders trying to stop Whitman themselves made things difficult.
Bullets were cracking over us. I mean, you could hear the crack, and the bullet would hit, and the dust would come down.
But while Day and Crum held down the southeast corner, Martinez and McCoy pressed on, making their way around the deck, slowly rounding the northeast corner of the tower and spotting Whitman in the northwest corner.
When I fired my first round, I could tell that I had made contact with him because of the impact. And he went up and got on his feet and hit that M1 carbine, and he was turning to face me. And I continue advancing towards him at a what I call a duck walk, because you had to stay down so that you can get hit from the bottom. Shooting as I went, and I could see that I was making impact because he couldn't bring that rifle down.
Martinez fired from here.
McCoy shot two. Both men connected, and Whitman went down. Martinez grabbed McCoy's shotgun, walked over, and shot Whitman one final time.
So Martinez fired, and the reign of terror came to an end.
I dropped the shotgun because my knees and my legs just kind of deserted me. They were just like pure rubber.
And just like that, after the worst hour and a half any of them could possibly imagine, the terror was over. But the healing was just beginning. That's what time does. 5 decades later, they've all learned to live with what happened. Some even use it.
Made me determined not to waste my life. So I became the best teacher I could be.
It may have been why I enjoy being in a band so much. I enjoy entertaining people, giving them if I put a smile on somebody's face, it's a good day for me.
But the questions will always be there.
I think survivor guilt is a huge issue. I don't know exactly what you do about it.
For a while, I felt guilty. I did. Why did I live? And not this person, and not 15 others.
Cheryl Botts Dickerson is a retired teacher who lives in Luling. Artley Snuff lives in Austin, and you can see him perform with his band, the Uranium Savages. Ramiro Martinez, known to many as Ranger Ray, went on to a distinguished career with the Texas Rangers. He lives in New Braunfels. Claire Wilson James is a retired teacher. Claire was never able to have children, but she did adopt a child. She lives in Texarkana.